Welcome to the Army Empire Podcast, your go-to podcast for insightful tips on investment strategies, entrepreneurship, and all things money matters. Join Bernard Alerte, your guide on this journey to financial freedom. Each episode will dive into expert advice, practical strategies, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your financial future. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned investor, we've got something for everyone. So get ready to unlock your financial potential and make your money work for you. And now, let's welcome your host, Bernard Alerte.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Liz. How you doing? How's everything going?
Good. How are you, Bernard?
Doing great. Doing great. We made it through that storm for last week. Yes.
Yes, we did. I think most of our folks now have power and internet, so hopefully everyone is joining us on Facebook and on YouTube.
Absolutely. Yes. We're excited.
Yeah. So don't forget to share any questions that you may have. 30-minute podcast. We want to answer your questions because chances are your questions are my questions and our coach can answer those questions, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we can.
Yes. All right. So good evening. Yes. Good evening, Derwin. How are you? How are you, Alistair? Thank you for joining us this evening. And I see you have an amazing, and if you saw the thumbnail, you know more or less what the title is today. And we're going to be talking about
debt, the four-letter word, that nasty four-letter word that people hear all the time, debt. Yes, it's the craziest thing because I think episode 2 we were talking about the 5 rules of wealth, and rule number 2 is we talk about debt is a cancer. And when we say that with such a harsh word, cancer, right? But if you think about what cancer does, cancer like something like a disease, nasty disease that attacks your body, attacks your cells, and seeks to destroy. And that's the same thing happens with debt. Debt looks to kind of it affects people's financial lives. People worry about that. People lose sleep over that. People get sick over that. Relationships get affected because too much debt. Everything happens because of that. So it's something that we got to talk about. And I think the challenge that's happening, the danger that's happening right now, Liz, is you hear all over TikTok, oh, debt is good. Debt is good. Get debt and not use. And I think the challenge with that is that works for big businesses, that works for people that have a lot of assets, but does not work. That mindset does not work for average middle income family. It just does not work for them. It's something, it's terrible, it's bad. You hear offers all over. How can I say that on advertising? Oh, get this, get the special card, and you get this, you get point. And we don't talk more about that, but it's such a bad that it's bad. It's really bad. I really don't like that at all. And I implore as many people, find a way. One thing, the most important dates you want to have is something called your debt freedom date, is the date that you be totally debt free. You need to have that date. It's so important.
Okay. You say a lot of things that just like really resound, like your debt freedom date. I hope you have your paper and your pen, guys, because we always love taking notes as we continue to learn. So you just let me know when you want me to move to the next slide.
You go next slide. Absolutely.
Okay, here we go.
Think about what's happening in debt. And this is a couple of stats that we kind of pulled up. If you think about the average American has about $101,000 in consumer debt. And that includes credit cards, personal loans, auto loan, mortgage, and student debt. And someone said, well, that's not that bad because mortgage is debt. Yeah, but only 64% of people in the United States have a mortgage, right? And so anything about the rest of it, most of it is not mortgage debt, if you think about it, right? Which is kind of crazy. And of the 61% of Americans with credit card debt, 23% go deeper into debt every single month. So 23%, it just gets worse and worse every single month. And 14% report missing at least one payment in 2023. Right. So if you think about it, it's really the challenge is how people are using debt just to pay bills to eat, even to buy food and different day-to-day activity. So it creates a major challenge in the middle income families.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
And this is worse. Check this out. As of second quarter of 2024, the total credit card debt in the United States is $1.142 trillion. trillion with a T. It's not billion. It's trillion, right? Which is the highest balance ever recorded by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That's a 5.8% increase from the previous year. So it's getting worse and worse. And average American has almost 8,600 in credit card debt. If you think about it, the average credit card debt is about 22, 28% sometimes, right? So it's just I want you to think about how like doubles, and think about how many banks are getting richer of the backs of middle income families, which is crazy. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about, and this is the bad news of compounding debt, right? And this one thing we talk about, compound interest is probably one of the most powerful forces in the universe, right? And Albert Einstein said that. And he talked about when you have debt, you have compound interest working against you. Check out this survey, right? Did you know if you made a one-time $3,000 credit card purchase with a 20% interest, with no new purchases, if you made the minimum payment, it would take you at least 10 and a half years to pay off, right? And you would end up owing more than 23 and 50 interest charges, right? So $3,000, so you owe like almost $5,300 or $3,000 credit card balance, which is kind of scary. If you think about what people do, think about you get a big flat screen TV for $3,000 and you're still paying for that. You're still paying for that flat screen TV 10 years later, right? And at the same time, it's obsolete. After 2 years, it's obsolete. So it's just crazy what happens. It's like working again. It's like you're trying to go up, right? You're trying to go up a downward escalator. It is not good.
Yeah, that right? Interest rate is what kills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And check this out. If you look at the next slide on top of that, right? There's a difference between revolving debt and fixed debt.
Okay, tell me about that. I'm interested in that right now.
This is how revolving debt erode your financial security. So what is revolving debt? Credit card debt. That's revolving debt, right? Let's say there's payday loans people have. That's revolving debt. Look at the difference. If you're revolving debt, like a $17,000 revolving debt at 18% interest, right? At 18% interest, you would have, if you paid $595 a month, you end up paying $12,500 in interest. It will take you 17 years and 2 months to pay it off. 17 years and 2 months to pay it off. Why is that? Because if you look at revolving debt, most of the money, like you ever paid a minimum, you ever like a payment, very little of it, the way it's calculated, very little of it is going towards the interest.
Right.
Most of it is going towards what? Towards the going towards interest.
Principal.
Very little is going towards the principal.
The principal.
Words, right? Most of it going towards interest. If you think about a fixed debt, what's a fixed debt? Like a mortgage is a fixed debt because there's a specific time for it, right? Mortgage debt is a fixed debt. If you look at car loan, that's a fixed, also fixed debt, right? Student loans are fixed debt. What that means, there's a specific time where if you pay, you'll be done paying it off, right? If you look at the same exact number, $17,000 of fixed debt at 18%. If you pay the same $595, you only pay $53.70 interest, and you pay it off in 3 years and 2 months to pay it off. If you look at the difference, it's the same debt, same amount of money, even the same interest, but always calculates totally different. Okay.
Yo, that's flushing money down the toilet.
Exactly.
That's terrible.
Exactly. And so what would I recommend? So if someone has any kind of, like, how can I say that? Revolving debt, credit card debt, I would definitely recommend to switching over to a fixed debt. You're paying the same amount of money, but you're going to pay off a lot faster.
So good. Can you call like a credit card company or to get it switched over? How does that happen?
You have to get some kind of loan, like a debt consolidation loan, specific, right? Or if you own a home, if you can get like a home equity just to pay it off, that makes a lot of sense to do that also. The numbers might work out for the best to pay it off, you know?
Got you.
And this is, people say, well, how do I get, Bernard, I have debt. How do I get out of debt? Okay, what's the best way to get out of debt? And this is how can I say, an example I'm gonna share with you guys real quick, right? It sounds complicated. We see all these numbers, but it's actually very simple. If you look at the first column, right, this is how much debt somebody has. And let me ask you some question. Here's what happens to most people. When you have debt, right, a lot of people, let's say if they owe Visa, MasterCard, or let's say Discover, Amex, different credit cards, right? What happens? There's a minimum payment, right? So what most people do is they say, okay, if they ask for a $50 minimum payment, they'll say, you know what? Let me add $25. Let me add $50 extra. So I had $25 here, $25 there, 25. They add a little bit extra, right, to the debts. And on top of that, they figure, listen, if I pay a little bit extra every debt, I end up paying off a lot faster. And what happens? They look at their statement months after months, and they don't see the balance go down, right? So there's a better way to actually get rid of debt, right? Which I'm going to share with you guys real quick, right? This is called a debt stacking way, right? If you look at the left column, right? So this person has like a retail card. They're paying $220 a month for it. They have this credit card too. They're paying $353 a month for it. Car loan, $551. Another credit card, $303. And mortgage, $1,293. That's definitely not in Florida or New York, right? So that's how much they're paying. So they're paying about $2,700 and $20 to pay off all their debt, right? So here's what I recommend people do. Instead of paying $25, 50, 50, 50 on like across different debts, take the whole extra money you're paying, you attack one debt at a time. You attack one credit card at a time. So the extra money added, and you add to one credit card at a time or one debt at a time, and you pay it out. If you look at this scenario, if you look at the second column, right? See, if when you're done paying retail card number one, where you're paying $220 a month, if you take the $220 a month, you're done paying off for it. Here's what happens to most people. The biggest mistake people make. Oh, I'm done paying off that debt. I'm good. So they use that money for other things.
Yeah. A lot of folks do that.
Exactly.
It's the first thing that comes to our mind. Oh, I now have an extra $220 for the month to play with. Exactly. And you don't have that money to play with.
Exactly. So here's what I recommend. Don't do that. Take that $220, then you add it to credit card number two. Now you're paying $353 in credit card number two. Now you're paying $573. Right? Then you're paying credit card number two. You're done paying that off. Man, I have $573 to spare. No, you don't. When we talk about you got to have a debt freedom date, you got to get rid of this. Okay. And you take the $573 credit card number two, then you attack it to the car loan. So now you're paying $551 for the car loan. Now you're paying $1,124 for the car loan. Then you're paying off that car loan real fast, right? Then you're done paying off the car loan. My gosh, I have $1,100 to spend. No, you don't. No, you don't. We're not done yet. Okay. We're going to take the $1,124. You're going to add it to credit card number one, right? So now instead of paying $303, now you're paying $1,427. And you'll be done paying that off, right? And once you're done paying that off, people say, oh my gosh, what you do? A tactic, the $1,427, add to your mortgage. Add to the principal of your mortgage. Now instead of paying $1,293, now you're paying $2,723, $2,720, right? Then what happens? You'll be done paying off your mortgage. But I said, does it make sense to pay off my mortgage? Absolutely. People, one of the biggest misconceptions people have. So, well, listen, why do I have to pay off my mortgage? Because I have, I get taxed. I can deduct out my taxes. No, if you have the money in a mortgage, you can take that money, invest it, put it somewhere else. If you look at the next slide, let me share with you actually what would happen to that person. If you look at the way they were going before. Right? See, without the debt stacking, right? It'll take them 24 years to pay off all that debt. Right? And how much interest? They didn't save any interest. They will pay a total of $212,000 in interest in the process. Right? And still paying $2,723 a month. Right? Now with the debt stacking, they'll be paid off 9 years. In 9 years, they'll be paying everything off. They'll pay all their debts, including mortgage, in 9 years.
It's so amazing.
9 years. And they'll save about $130,000 in interest saved. Not giving to the banks, back in your pocket. You save that. And you only pay $82,000 in interest. Still paying $2,720.
That visual is so powerful.
Exactly. So that's the best way. People say, well, how do I decide what to pay it off? There's a couple of things you can do. One thing, rule of thumb, take the credit card that has the highest interest with the lowest balance, right?
That's the order of how we should pay.
You want to do it. And if you're not sure, we have a software that we use for our clients, right, called Financial Needs. So if someone's in that situation, they want to learn how to do it, we'll help them out. They can send me an email and we'll help them out. And we'll do it complimentary. We don't charge any money for this. We'll do a complimentary where we actually show them. They'll take all that. We'll look at all their debts, right? We'll look at based on at the actual numbers. We'll show that the way they're paying before, when they'll be done paying it off, right? And we'll show them. If we show them how to do it the other way, their actual numbers, show them way paid off faster, and we'll show them their numbers, how much interest they're going to save in the long run, right? And when they'll be done paying off their debt. And if they follow it, and they can follow it to the T, and we'll show them exactly how to pay everything off. And
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And you can contact Bernard via his email. That's below, scrolling below. Make sure that you do that because that's complimentary. Absolutely. And I love that you're answering that question. How do you know what order to pay? What has the highest interest rate first?
The highest interest rate with the lowest balance. So this way, it's like you're getting ahead. It's like you're knocking that one off, but you have to stay disciplined. Then you add it to the next one. So here's what I would do. Instead of paying the extra, pay the minimum on all the cards. If you have 3, 4, 5 credit cards, just pay the minimum on all of them, but take the first one, whatever extra usually you would pay altogether. Instead of paying 25, 25, 25, 25, take 100 and attack one at a time. You knock that off. The next one, then the next one, then the next one. And you'll see yourself getting out of debt. Okay. You got to get rid of debt. Debt is bad. There's nothing good about debt. Nothing good about debt. Don't let anyone tell you there's good stuff. There's nothing good about debt. Listen, there's different rules for people that are wealthy, right? Because here's what happens with a lot of wealthy people. They get mortgages because they have a bunch of $1 million. So sometimes if they buy a house, they don't pay cash for it. Because it doesn't make sense for them to pay cash because they have money invested where they're getting 12, 15, 10, 12% in net interest. They can get a mortgage, right? And they can pay it off mortgage. They can pay it off, get a mortgage for 4, 5% or 6% on their mortgage. And sometimes they borrow on their own money. They have ways where they borrow on their own money where they can get a mortgage. It's crazy what they do, but that's not for the average person. So we hear things like that on TikTok. We think, oh, debt. No, it's not. It's not good. For people that are wealthy, yes, that works for them because they have ways to get rid of stuff, right? For people that, how can I say, businesses, yes, of course. But for an average person, no, you got to get rid of debt. You got to get rid of it. Find a way to get rid of it, okay?
Now, Bernard, I used to be a bankruptcy paralegal for 15 years. And I remember people, they would say to me, okay, so when this bankruptcy is done, I'm not going to be able to get credit cards. And I used to tell them, when the bankruptcy is done, you're going to get a slew of credit card opportunities because these companies want you to be in debt.
Yes.
It's crazy.
They want you to stay in debt. They make their money keeping you in debt. Yeah. And people fall for that trap. One thing that people fall into, because there's people like, oh, my credit card offers me this. If I use it, I can get free trips. And if you think about and here's what happens. And people say, man, if I can just pay it off faster, I'll pay my balance off faster and I don't have to worry about I can use a point. But that's less than 1% of population. So the other 9, you have the right, people have the right mind, but that's not the reality. The reality, if you see it, people are not paying everything off right away, right? It works. If you have the cash, you can actually pay everything off. Like if you use it, you get some points, free travel. There's credit cards that offer free travel. That works. If you pay, for most people, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that's the way they catch you. They get you. Like, don't worry, and you rack up debt, and guess what happens? Is you have compounding working against you.
Yeah.
Yes.
We learned so much today about the fixed and the revolving. I think that I really learned a lot with that one, the revolving debt and the fixed debt. And then, of course, just looking at that timeline of when you pay something off and that mentality. And sometimes, listen, Latinos, like we think, oh, well, this is extra money that I get to use for, for other stuff. And really, if you're using wisdom, you can really have a debt-free date.
Yes, you can be debt-free. But one of the ways to be debt-free, okay, there's a strategy, there's a mindset that's necessary for you to become debt-free. Because here's what happens to a lot of people. A lot of people, one of the ways, another mistake that people make, right? They'll take all their money they have. I want to pay off. So they take all that to pay off all their debt. No. Here's what happens to people. You pay off your debts, right? And guess what happens? Emergencies happen. So you end up getting right back into debt right afterwards, right? There's a way to get rid of debt and stay out of debt is by building cash. right? So what I tell someone, people say, well, I have $600, I'm gonna pay off. Don't pay off all the debt. Don't take all the $600 or $1,000 to pay off all the debt. Take some of it and build cash. Because this is what happens. As you pay off the debt, you want to start saving and invest in money and build cash as you pay off the debts.
Right? Oh, is that another episode?
That's
that might be another episode, because that's real interesting, and I'm sure that there's tactics and stuff to that.
Yes, you build cash, because guess what happens? Emergencies happen in life, but for a lot of people, the only emergency fund they have is Visa and MasterCard. So emergency is gonna happen. That's normal,
dude. You are preaching.
It's a reality. People like, do you use credit cards? Well, I have an emergency. Use credit card. The car breaks down. It's cost a ton. I mean, because you don't have cash. But if you start building cash as you're paying off the debt, so guess what happens? If you have an emergency, you have the cash you tap into. You don't have to use debt. The only way to get rid of debt is to build savings. Mm-hmm. Build savings. The only way to do it is not to pay off the debt. That's part of it. That's only half the battle. You have to build savings as you're paying off your debt, because otherwise you'll be right back into debt again, because life happens. Emergencies happen. Things happen to us in life. So we got to build savings with that.
Yes. And this must be your wife, and she's preaching me right here. Pay yourself first. See, I'm not good at that part.
Yes.
But that's right.
Absolutely. It's so important to do that. I mean, I don't like that. People, because I've seen debts, it just destroys, it hurts. People lose sleep over it. People get sick over it. People get high blood pressure over that. People worry about that debt. People, it got to the point, right? It gets to the point. People don't even want to go in their mailbox sometimes, right? Like, oh my gosh, right? What? Because they know all they're gonna get is bills. So sometimes, so that's why it's like and you know what? Challenge that we have. What the reason people are into debt? The main reason, because they have an income challenge. They have an income challenge. Let me share some stats with you. In 2010, the average income in the U.S. was I think was about $50,000, $48,000 or $50,000. You fast forward in 2024, almost 15 years later, the average income is maybe $60,000. So the incomes have gone up, not that much, but everything has doubled.
Yeah.
What happens? Income is like 3-4%, but everything has doubled. Think about what a gallon of milk was 14 years ago, and compared to where it is right now. So that people have a money challenge. People have a money challenge. Incomes are not going up the way it's supposed to happen. But guess what happens? The expenses have gone up. Expenses have gone up. Even mortgage has gone up. Everything, expenses. I mean, I'm in Florida. I mean, people see like the taxes going up. It's all over the country, and so it's a major. So how do people live? So if someone's living on fixed income, right? Fixed income, that change. So you can't live on fixed income. This is another episode. You gotta find ways to supplement your income, right? It's so important to find ways to make more money. For a lot of people, they don't make enough money, right? And that's for a lot. That's a challenge. Listen, I learned something very powerful. You can rearrange your chair on the Titanic, but if it's gonna sink, it's gonna sink. No matter what, you can fix it, make it look pretty, it's gonna sink. So a lot of people, you gotta find ways to make more money. But the most important thing, you have to have a hatred for debt. You can't like that. That's very important. It's harsh, but you have to have, I can't stand this, because that's the only way you're gonna get rid of it. And you gotta have a way to get like a debt freedom date. You have to find, I need to get rid of this, right? And I need to build savings with that. I need to build my savings, and I need to get rid of that. And guess what's gonna happen? Your life is going to change. You're going to sleep better at night. Nothing good with that. Don't listen to people tell you that debt is good. Don't listen to that, to TikTokers or wherever I don't like that. I just don't like them to be. I mean, they're giving bad advice, because people will take that advice and they'll say like it's good. No, it's not. It works for people that have money. If people have, I know people that are wealthy that use that have that, because guess what happens? They have the reserve. They have reserves to do that. They have cash with that, and they just don't want to touch their cash, because they're getting a lot more interest on that cash. So it makes sense for them, business sense for them to kind of borrow money to whatever they need to do. Businesses do the same things too. They borrow money because they don't want to use their reserves sometimes, right? But for an average person, oh my gosh, you got to build cash and get rid of debt.
This is so good. Don't you just love Tuesday nights? Don't you just love Tuesday nights? Listen, I'm going to be watching the replay again on this one during the week. Guys, we can totally do that. Just go back, scroll down on the Facebook page, click the button, hit that play button, and listen to it again while you're driving to work or whatever, or go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel there, and watch the replay. And
Absolutely.
kind of like really, it's got to get like it. That stuff needs to sink in.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love these sessions too, my man. I love these sessions too.
Yes.
This is good. Thank you
But
so much.
I can, if someone has a question, I can try to answer.
Yeah, if anybody has a question of any sort, you know, you always, all gems tonight. Yes, super informative. Lots of important information. Just little things like, and this is the stuff that then you share with others, because you share it with your kids. And if anybody has any questions, they can contact Bernard. But when you said when an emergency happens, they go to Visa and MasterCard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a reality.
Return to that.
Exactly. And that's a major, and you know what? And you gotta have someone to teach us that, because we don't know. We don't know sometimes. You get bombarded with commercials, with debt. It sounds good, and people get into it, you know? So it's so important. So
yeah, that's really good. So we answered quite a few questions with the order of how we should pay, the interest, whatever's the highest of interest.
Highest interest, lowest balance, and the highest interest, right? Because you want to feel like you're going somewhere, you know, because what happens, you want to use that, and you want it's like you're taking baby steps. It's like you're taking baby steps, so you want to get rid of that. So even if it's like $500 and balance, you pay that off, boom, then you attack the next one. You attack the next one. Right?
Yeah, those little wins, it's like you're having a little win. And those little wins, they mean a lot. The same way the debt actually gives people anxiety. Like you started the episode talking about this terrible 4-letter word. I mean, it's a cuss word.
Yes, exactly. It is. Yes.
And how it can destroy relationships. There are people that have taken their lives because of debt. That's how much power it has.
Yes, it's terrible. It's terrible. People lose sleep. People get sick. People get heart attacks. I mean, there's so many people, if you think about that have health challenges because money challenges a lot of times, because they're dead. They worry about their bills. They're worried about, you know, they're getting calls every day. People are afraid to pick up their phone. They look at 800. Oh my gosh, she's not here. He moved to Alaska. He's not here no more. I mean, people are afraid. You know, it's the craziest thing. Call ID. Be like, oh my God, I don't know this number. Think about that. I don't know this number. I don't know who's calling. So people. It's not good. It's not good. What kind of savings the bank? Well, there's a couple savings. What kind of savings? It's different. You can have saving, also emergency, also savings long term. Okay, so there's 3 different accounts, which in next episodes we're gonna talk about. Couple weeks down the line, we're gonna get up different accounts like everyone should have. You know, next week I wanna go over credit. Is important to use credit the right way, effectively, ways to kind of improve your credit, to strategies behind that, right? And because credit becomes so important these days, you have to, and it's kind of contradictory at the same time, because you say stay away from debt, but you gotta protect your credit, because what happens is, unfortunately, everyone judges you based on the credit. It's just a reality. It's sometimes even if you have cash, they judge you based on the credit. You know, I mean, and we know someone, for example, that can pay, that they even try to get rent an apartment, right? And they have the cash to pay for the whole year, and they won't get accepted because the credit was not great. It's the craziest thing. So it's important to protect that. It's a reality, but we have to protect it and pay attention to it. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave us some good future episodes that we can look forward to. Bernard, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Great episode.
Absolutely. So stay away from that 4-letter word.
Stay away from that 4-letter word, guys. You heard it here first at the Army Empire podcast with Bernard Alerte.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
We'll see you guys again right here, same day, same channel. Do you remember the bat? Do you remember Batman?
See, a lot of millennials don't know about same bad time, same bad channel, right? People don't remember. Like if you're like 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, you know that, but everyone else like the 80s, they don't know what I'm talking about. So
bye, guys.
All right, guys, take care now.
Thanks for tuning in to the Army Empire podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Join us next week for another exciting edition, and until then, keep building your empire.